Hi, Cancer. I am Lady Stars and Fire. My real name is Michelle Espinosa. And this is your not your weekly, listen to me. This is Come Give Mommy Love. I don't really like it when you pick me up. I just want to love you. I don't want you to love me. Cancer, this is your April astrology. I left you guys for last on purpose because I'm a Cancer moon. And I was trying to make sure that I was separating myself from the astrology and not going off of my own personal situations, long story short. Because we're definitely getting into our inner emotional security. Or maybe it's our inner emotional insecurities. It's the home. We've got, now Spirit's starting to talk, I've got a lot of our communication house. I don't actually think that we have it actually showing up in the astrology, but our communication, we're being told to pay attention to our shape-shifting energy about that communication. Pay attention to intellect, to the details, to the gossip. There may be some short journeying for you, and for some of you that may just be, in this case, going to work and stuff, but it may be taking small short journeys or trying new things. But what's really coming up to me is the intellect, the delivery system. It's all about the way we speak, what we're going to speak, or the way we're interpreting it to ourselves. I am being given some, it's either personal judgment or judgment from others that seems to be concerning us in one way or another. Still, they're giving me the delivery system. For some of you, you're going to have this important conversation over the phone. In my case, this energy has been rough. Okay, this energy has been rough, and I try to be a more positive person and try to see things from a higher perspective, but like the ego keeps coming in and messing with my head and then going back out and coming back and forth. I'm like, my cup. So I get it. All right. Spirit is saying there's, the Venus is speaking up, and we'll look at where Venus is for us, but that's our sensitivities. For me, that's definitely the way I see it. Spirit is saying some of this has to do with the home, some of this has to do with the inner child and our creative expression and how it is that we are expressing it. So where it's not actually coming in the third house, because I don't believe there's anything in our third house for Cancer, but I do believe it has to do with maybe self-communication more. It may be actually dealing with communication within the home and personal creativity and its creative expression in general, because they're giving me the fifth house now. Some of this is just flat out having time to enjoy what you enjoy. And are you putting your energy into what you enjoy instead of, like the routines you don't want to really be part of? Some of this is also going to be dealing with dating, because that fifth house has to do with not just creative expression, but it's also a sexual energy, sexuality. So it could be feeling how you feel about yourself within, coming into dating, romance, that creative expression, and being you, being able to be comfortable with being you. Is there anything else? I just have a lot of Venus sensitive energy. Venus does rule in a form, she rules the throat chakra too. She rules the money, small small possessions, but it can also be possessive energy because of the way Spirit is giving it to me. I'm starting to think I'm feeling like what Spirit's giving me too is a little bit of, you know how like when you're going on a new journey, you're going down a new path, you're learning a new thing within your spiritual maturity. I'm feeling like part of this is a short journey. A short thing, like a hiccup, like a bump in the road, a piece that you've gone back and you're kind of going over and making corrections to, you know, like a small piece of the journey to bring the full circle into full circle is what I'm getting from Spirit. Yeah, because they're giving me regeneration now. So it feels like it's kind of redoing the circle to fix some of those hiccups. And I'm getting a lot of that has to do with the communication with your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, your inner emotional security, your creative expression. You're learning something in this area. Something about part of your hidden self. A part that you maybe don't like to see about yourself, because I've been crabby and I keep finding myself putting energy into things I don't want to be putting it into, and then I get mad at myself because I'm doing exactly what I know I don't want to be doing. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like it's something that you might be learning, or something that you're acknowledging and you're learning how to master it, shift it, change it. For some, that's going to have everything to do with what you're going to be learning maybe over the next couple months, because Venus is moving and going to be in Gemini for a while. This may have to do with your professional life, with your something you're learning that's going to help that strengthen the outer community, which will actually strengthen social foundations in that outer community, in the larger group, which ultimately will help financial success in some way, will help the future, the dreams, the goals, the desires. I really feel like this is a learning how to communicate a lot of this within your relationships, but starting with the relationship with yourself so that you can get past that hidden self part. Some of your own, I don't want to say like skeletons in the closet, because I don't feel like it's skeletons in the closet. I feel like what I'm getting from them is maybe it's where you're feeling like you have your own self-deception, but like you know you're making changes on it. Or maybe, depending on who we're talking about, you're coming into knowing it. I am getting root chakra as well as throat chakra. Overcoming some grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurities. Something is also going to be doing with, well, maybe I was saying that as I was getting partners. So it may just be, you know, really finding yourself, your true self, all depths of self in relationships, depending on what the relationships are and how important they really are. It's going to go back to inner emotional security in one way or another, and creative expression of being true. I don't even want to say true to you, but being the true you. Is there anything else? Yeah, they're saying, yeah, a lot of this is setting personal foundations. Okay. Now, I'm going to start off with the full moon, because you have the full moon happening on the 7th. Now, but before I do, I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of what I have going on, because they have major energies coming in. I've been telling everybody, still, they're saying pretty much during this energy, of like from the, I would say from the 11th through the 22nd up to that new moon is going to have something to do with that throat chakra and communication, especially, is what they're giving me at the moment. But you have major energies coming in as you come out of that full moon and as you're moving towards the new moon. And I'm going to go over all of it in a minute. And I kind of keep giving it to you as this is your energy, but understand the universal energy too, so that you can understand how to maneuver it a little bit better. So, in fact, let me just start off. I believe, okay, your first house is Cancer. The only thing we have here is the North Node, which is Rahu. And it's on its last month of being here in our first sign. Like I said, if you're a sun or an ascending Cancer, then it is kind of more in the core energies of what we're talking about. For me, I'm a moon Cancer. So if you're a moon or a Venus Cancer, then I'm definitely getting more into the depths of who and what you are. And I'm getting into the emotional depths and your sensitive depths, because I see Venus as sensitivity. I don't see her as love. So when I do this, I just try to make sure I'm throwing it out there. So depending on what kind of Cancer sign you're coming in as, you have a better idea of how to receive what I'm giving you. Now, Rahu in Cancer is at its last few degrees. It's kind of at that point where it's going, I'm not playing with you anymore. Did you get the memo? Because I'm running out of time for you to get this through, you thickhead. And I'm about to move back into your 12th house. So the more you're ahead of this, the less we have to work on over the next year. Now, the North Node in Cancer is the self itself. It's coming into awareness of self, illumination of self, core of self. It's where the sun typically is for, not for a Cancer, but for a Cancer who's born, because you're a Cancer, this would be your sun sign or an ascending sign where you're growing from. Like I said, as a moon, this is where my emotional depths are. So this is coming into the awareness of whether it's your core, of where your sun is shining on you, bringing that extra attention to you. It's your appearance, your personality, your view. It's the core of how you either feel as a moon sign, or the core of how you're illuminated and shown to the world as a sun sign. If you're an ascending sign, this is the way people assume you to be. They perceive you and they look at you. So what are they seeing? Are they getting the awareness you want them to get? Are you being truly aware of who you are? Again, from that personality, the characteristics, your appearance, your view of life, the way that you just carry yourself through this life. Is that who you want to be? And the reason I put it that way is because Rahu is everything you need to learn in order to move forward, more or less. And in Cancer, he's very nurturing. Cancer is a mothering sign. It is a nurturing sign. But it doesn't come at you with, I love you. It comes at you with, how can I help? Perfect example. Like the other day I was making tea for my mother. And my mother was like, that's because you're a better person than me. You'll do this kind of stuff for other people. And I'm like, no, I just know that that's something you want. And I'm already in here. I was like, that's a Cancer move. I was like, we do things that nurture others. It's our way of saying I love you without necessarily saying it. That's part of being aware of who and what you are from whatever sign we're talking about within those houses. So Rahu, or the North Node, however you want to see it, and Cancer is speaking to you about, are you nurturing yourself? That first house, the core of whatever this energy is, sun, ascending, moon, sensitivities. Are you nurturing your truth in it? Because if you're not, then there's pieces you're definitely neglecting. And this is what I'm getting at. Rahu's running out of time. It's about to move, more or less, back into your 12th house, where it's going to be in your own personal skeletons in the closet. So the more you're completely seeing yourself, truly facing yourself, facing your inner self, your light and dark, the more you're nurturing the truth of who you are and coming into that understanding, the less hard it's going to be when it actually goes into the 12th house, where it is facing the hidden self. This is about facing those things about yourself that you deny and nurturing yourself back to right in areas that you've had these problems that set you off. Okay. With that being said, that automatically is speaking to us of parts of that hidden self, which is the 2nd house as well as that 12th house. So this is coming into the depths of the truth of your of your value, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. There is nothing here in the 2nd house, but it's still triggering energies of those true hidden parts of yourself, hidden talents of yourself. On both sides of the 1st and the 2nd houses, bringing that into the awareness. And are you nurturing it or are you neglecting it? Because these are pieces that you need to really get right with the real self in order to truly maneuver it forward in the best, healthiest ways. Now, your 3rd house, again, doesn't have anything going on, but they still are giving me, the delivery system, communication, delivery system, and intellect. I feel like I want to say optimism. We need to have optimism here. Not objectiveness as much as optimism is what I feel like Spirit is really directing me to. There should be growth in this area. But like I said, there's not actually anything here. Now, when you get to the 4th house, though, is where you have a bombarded energy. This is the full moon. The full moon takes place on the 7th. And it's taking place in Libra. Automatically, that means, for one, Libra speaks of relationships in general, because it rules the relationship house. Then it speaks to us of harmony, justice, balance. And is there harmony, justice, and balance in these relationships? Well, it's the 4th house. So the relationship is either with the home or with the home. Or both. And like I said, it could be, that might be why they're pulling me towards the 3rd house so much too, because it may be the home as well as with siblings, neighbors, what's very close to you. The home that you live with, as in husband, wife, sisters, brothers, parents, depending on, what's going on in your life. It could be these relationships you have with people in or close to the home. And then it could be relationships you have with yourself, because the vessel that you live in is the home of where the vessel has to be until you're no longer here on earth. So it could be a communication with yourself as well. Now, the 4th house speaks to us of our personal foundations, which is what Spirit was saying. Spirit also keeps giving me, it's talking to us about our roots and our inner child. So this may have to do with overcoming something you learned as a child, or maybe something you were taught as a child. You know how like sometimes you might have given up on an idea because somebody told you that was stupid. Especially when you were younger. You were taught things that maybe, whether it's religion, maybe it's just, somebody else's perspective of what is important when it is important to you. Something may have happened for some of us in the personal foundations of our roots from our inner child. And you may be doing some healing from within that aspect. Because the 4th house also speaks to us of karmic lessons, reincarnation, so rebirthing, getting true with the real self, and inner emotional security. Well, the fourth house is either where, as you were growing up from that inner child, you were either taught that inner emotional security, or you were accidentally, because I like to think of it as people just aren't mature enough to realize that they do things that are not healthy to others. And what I mean is the way you may have been raised may have taken away from that inner emotional security. And you're learning how to tap into it as an adult. You know, tap into the roots, tap into that personal foundation and tweak it and make corrections. And some of that may be the roots of the inner child itself making the corrections, the personal foundation. But it may also be the personal foundation of the family and the relationship of the home space. Either way, it's an inner emotional security that you're tapping into, which is a shape-shifting energy, is what Spirit is telling me. It's shape-shifting the idea of the way maybe you perceive it or perceived it in the past. Returning back to the idea of what about that inner emotional security really isn't secure. Is more of an insecurity, and tweaking it and changing it. The reason I'm putting so much emphasis on this full moon energy is because it's a full moon, which is release, surrender, and let go. Something is being brought to light and shown to you. You know, maybe picking at you because it's being brought to light. For some of you, it's just directly the home situation itself. But you have Juno here, which is sacrifice and commitment. You have Haumea here, which is the collective consciousness. And you have Make here, all in Libra, which is saying sacrifice and commitment to the very collective consciousness of how to create harmony, balance, and justice in that inner emotional security of the home. Whether it's the home and the family or the home, that inner emotional security. Either way, you're getting to a new personal foundation, setting new roots. And it's either because you're looking at some of your darker aspects because you have Make here, which is what I always say is that spiritual evolution, spiritual growth of the lotus flower. It's one of the most beautiful spiritual symbols of spiritual maturity, but it grows from a swamp. So there's parts of you that is feeling like you're overcoming your own inner swamp, which I keep saying to people is your own inner Shawshank redemption. You're traveling through parts of your inner emotional rivers of shit to clean them up and come out clean on the other side. So either way, something about this is showing itself to you through this full moon. And it's setting the direction of what has to change, trying to create harmony and balance and true justice for the self and the home. By showing you where things are out of whack. Now, you don't have anything in the 5th house or the 6th house. But Spirit keeps pointing at me, which maybe is also the sacral chakra in general, the root chakra and sacral chakra. Because they keep pointing out to me creative expression, and personal judgments on that creative expression. But I feel like this is saying, are you focusing on what you want to be focusing on? Because like I said, there's not actually any planets there speaking, but Spirit's directing me to it. So I'm feeling like, are you taking the time to focus on what's important to you? What makes you feel good and thrive in that energy? Or are you picking on the things that really bother you and pull you down? This comes back to that, again, all the way back to that North Node awareness, Rahu awareness in your 1st house. And really being aware as to what you are nurturing or what you are neglecting. Because what you nurture What you pay attention to, what you focus on is what matures into manifestation. What you don't put any energy into, you pay no attention to it. It's what's in neglect and denial is going to not really do much energy movement. Now, like I said, that 5th and 6th house, you don't really have anything in. As you come into the 7th house, I'm right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 7th and the 8th house is your relationship zone. And you've had Jupiter here, not Jupiter, Pallas here, hot Pallas. You've had Pluto here for quite a long time. But Pluto's about to go retrograde. So Pluto's in shadow. Pluto is connecting with spirit for the future. Connecting with the naked truth. In shadow, he's incredibly naked. The naked truth of what's going on. Now, this is the 7th house. Feeling exposed in the relationships. Whether it's exposed as in you're being seen or viewed right or incorrectly, or you just feel very exposed to the energy of these relationships that are part of your life. And you have a relationship with anything you care about. You have a relationship with your friends, with your spouses, with your children, with your parents, with your working environment. I say all the time, you have a relationship with your money. And when you have no money, you know about that relationship with your money. Pluto is in shadow. Death, decay, and destruction for renewal, rebirth, regeneration. Being very exposed to darker aspects within relationships that may feel like it's jeopardizing you coming into you. You standing in the way of getting right with you. I would just give it the smell of hand sanitizer. So this may be saying you need to clean some people. Clean some areas of these relationships. You may be finding out there's some relationships that you can let go of. Cords that could be cut. That they're not cooperative in helping you into what you truly want. Yeah, because that's what I'm getting now. So it may be, cleaning off bad germs of the relationships and not allowing those negative toxins of those relationships to come in and really keep you from getting right with you. And maybe feeling like within the relationships, because I'm putting these two houses together now. Because abundance is Jupiter. Pallas, Athena, the warrior goddess, sitting on top of Pluto, which is in shadow right before he goes retrograde, looking at the darker aspects of the relationships, bringing it special attention and higher knowledge, and just notice this, to the relationships. Have some freaking wisdom here and see through the truth is what I'm feeling like. And then it moves into the 8th house, which is Aquarius, which is got Saturn here now for the next 4 months. 2 months direct, 2 months in retrograde, and then it goes back into that 7th house again. And Mars is here, so I feel like very much standing in that power and taking the action, setting the new rules, the walls, the boundaries, acknowledging the truths of what's going on in these relationships, and are these relationships really good for you or not? Are they healthy or not? And that's what I feel like I'm getting the hand sanitizer, is in the areas where they're unhealthy, it's time for you to notice it so you don't create a cycle again. Because like I said, you got 4 months before, well, technically you're in the 4 months, before Saturn is going to retrograde back to Jupiter and Pluto in that 7th house, where you're definitely going to notice it at that time. So This is saying, you know, get ahead of the ball game. Acknowledge the true laws of the relationships and how they are working or aren't working. And what needs to shift. I'm going to start part 2 in just a second because it's about to shut off. But we'll come back for the 9th through the 12th house. I love you guys. Bye.